Because, well, Trump's arresting these outlaw judges, and there's actually been a third arrest of an official that I'm going to talk about as well. But this judge in Wisconsin in particular, this weirdo judge out west where he had the gang member living with him, that's some kind of freak show we don't know the whole story about yet, but we will when they get into court and the investigations and everything start to come out. But this lady judge that helped this illegal escape, that is a whole nother story. Now, I've got some audio I want to play with this, of this. One of them is from, I want to start with this one, because this is Attorney General Pam Bondi talking about it. But this is absolutely amazing, guys. This is what it is. First off, it's not a coincidence that this happened while the president's in Rome. Okay, this was timed for the, but this idea that judges and mayors and police chiefs and sheriffs and a bunch of other liberal jerks can declare that this is a sanctuary city. And if you have committed federal crimes, you can live here in peace. That's total BS, and it's not going to be tolerated anymore. And we'll talk about that too, Vindman, don't worry. But this should send chills down the spine of people like this racist CCP mayor of Boston. But this is Pam Bondi talking about, hold on, that's the New Mexico judge, hold on. This is Pam Bondi talking about the Wisconsin lady judge that helped the illegal escape with his lawyer. By the way, should his lawyer not also be arrested since he was part of this escape plot?
And to set the stage for you and Sandra, this was truly horrific. This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery. He had beat up two people, a guy and a girl, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman.
Oh my goodness, and a violent felon illegal who beat up, what is it with the Democrats and these supporting these guys that beat up women?
Guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And John, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes. Victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom, you're not going to believe this, takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out of private exit and tells them to leave. While a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
Wow. Yeah, they love domestic violence perpetrators, don't they, the left? This is the second one. And, Kash Patel posted and released a video of her being arrested. They walked her to the car in handcuffs in her judge's robe. She's got the robe on. Did you see her mugshot? She is bawling. I was talking about this on my podcast. You should listen to my latest podcast episode because I get in a lot of detail with this. The Brian Craig Show podcast. It's on all podcast platforms, and it's also here on YouTube. It's the video before this one. But these judges and mayors like Wu and all this stuff, they're anarchists who are working to bring down the United States. They're misusing their government positions to bring down and take part in the controlled fall of the United States and our entire system. You just can't do that. She helped this guy escape. She helped a federal fugitive from justice escape. And I'm so glad that they released the video of her in cuffs in her judge's robe. And these are not the last two that are going to be arrested. There's going to be mayors arrested. There's going to be sheriffs arrested. Now, this is Scott Jennings on CNN with a panel of jerks last night.
You have the right to get an arrest warrant, and you have the right to get a summons. And that they got an arrest warrant for a judge shows that they wanted to make this a spectacle. Last point.
Well, the judge is helping federal fugitives from justice that beats up women escape. She went through a very elaborate plan to escape. Yes, they got an arrest warrant for a criminal. Just because you're a judge and have a robe on doesn't mean that you're allowed to go out and do crime.
Is I indicted, or I presented to a grand jury and indicted a state prosecutor. I indicted a prosecutor, and I got a summons because I didn't want to make a spectacle. They made a spectacle of this case.
It's not a spectacle, it's a message. They sent a message. By the way, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, please like and share the video. This was a message to all these outlaw judges and mayors and other public officials. The days of your illegal sanctuary city bullshit are over, and you're going to go to jail. This judge in Wisconsin, she's going to prison. She's going to a federal prison.
It on X as well, and then deleted it, but announced it on X.
Why wouldn't you want to make a spectacle of it? I mean, the fact of the matter is, there are liberal Democrat elected officials, not all judges, some are mayors and others, all over this country who have said repeatedly since Donald Trump became the president that they would like to obstruct his principles and his program when it comes to deporting illegal immigrants. Here you have this person. If these facts are proven true, obviously that's exactly what she was trying to do here. Why wouldn't you want to make...
Let me respond to that.
Well, let me... Why? Because...
You asked me a question, let me respond.
Well, let me tell you my view. The spectacle is important because a message has to be sent to everybody else. We're not going to put up... You've been elected by people to uphold the law, and some of the laws that have been most flagrantly violated in this country are immigration laws. You've got to get on board with upholding all the laws, not just the ones you like to stop. Here's the reason.
Okay, Kash Patel is head of the FBI.
You said you had to...
It's an embarrassment.
Let me just respond to something you said.
Go ahead.
Which is that you said, well, you got to worry about the impact on the community.
Yes.
The president and the Justice Department and his people have to worry about the impact of illegal immigration on the country because nobody's been worried about that for years. And the reason this is important is because this is one of Donald Trump's biggest criminal justice priorities. And frankly, it's one of the American people's biggest priorities to control this. And you know well, there are people all over towns, all over this country who have been working overtime to try to stop him from executing on this agenda. If she turns out to be one of them, a spectacle is warranted so other people will stop doing it.
I appreciate
Okay, now I'll tell you what's coming next. Do you know what's coming next? A federal judge is going to get arrested. And others too. Fannie could get arrested in Fulton County. Letitia's definitely getting arrested and going to federal prison. She's already lawyered up. She's in a panic. This Judge Mershon in New York, that judge in Goron in the Letitia case, these judges could get arrested too. But this judge that gets all the cases, even though they're supposed to be randomly assigned, people like that are going to get arrested. They're going to get arrested. And the reason they're going to get arrested, they're doing crime. These are people backed by Soros and radical leftists that have gotten their way into mayorships, running police departments, prosecutors, public defenders, and have judgeships at the federal and local level. And their entire mission is to destroy this country and take part in this invasion that they're using to destroy our country. Now, I want to ask you a question. And this is a big one. Let me pull up this story because I want to talk about it and what they have in the news as we talk about it. Oh, by the way, the president in Rome, when he went into the funeral, you notice right in the front row. They were on CNN yesterday and MSNBC. They're, well, the president not be in the front row for this one. He was right there, front row. And when he went into the funeral, the world leaders were climbing over each other to get to him, to talk to him and shake hands. So all of you people out there that are upset about the tariffs, the reason they were all kissing Trump's ass at the Pope's funeral is because of the tariffs, okay? That's what they were doing. They were kissing the ring, not of the Pope, but of the president because of the tariffs. And President Trump had that sit down with Zelensky. And you can tell They're sitting right there. It was in St. Peter's. He said, get your shit together, Zelensky. This is bullshit. Your people are dying. This war's over. Sign the damn treaty, you scumbag. I mean, that's exactly what went down. It was not a discussion. It was President Trump telling Zelensky what's up. Now, I want to ask you this. The Jeffrey Epstein accuser, was it 2 weeks ago she got hit by a bus, and now they say she committed suicide. Do you think, yes or no, did she commit suicide? What do you think? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Did she commit suicide? Yeah. I don't think you're going to find many people that say yes to that. It's sad story, isn't it? No. No. You're not going to find many people who say yes to that. All right, now this is Fox News coverage. President Trump, he's walking to his seat at the Pope's funeral, and the world leaders are climbing over each other to get to him.
I just want to point this out. So President Trump is shaking hands with a lot of these world leaders. And this is something that we saw at Notre Dame as well. They come to him. They want their moment. They know that they are in a negotiation with the President of the United States over many things. And he is definitely a gravity center at these events. So just an interesting side note there. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Just want to point that out.
No. That's basically...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because they want to kiss his butt because the tariffs, the import taxes, they're in freakouts about it. They've been sucking off the United States since the end of World War II. They've been ripping us off. They've been living off of us. And now it's time to get control. That's right. President Trump's resetting everything, putting the world back in place. The free ride is over, right? Ripping off the United States is not going to happen anymore. And the most significant thing out of that whole trip is these world leaders going out of their way to kiss Trump's butt. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. My name's Brian Craig. Now, Rachel Maddow, they laid the law down. There's a report in Trending Politics. MSNBC executives have ordered Rachel Maddow to tone down her Trump hate. Tone it down. Not get rid of it, but just tone it down a little bit. You're British, you wish you had a prime minister like Donald Trump. Yeah, you know, those of you in England, I mean, England has completely fallen, sadly. You know, I know the Democrats, they're supporting Hamas, the pharmaceutical killer, MS-13, this wife beater in El Salvador, now this judge that helps violent criminals that beat up women escape from the courtroom. I mean, they're openly supporting hardcore violent criminals and felons. Wait until Letitia James gets arrested. That's a big one, and that is coming. They already may have, you know, a lot of these people, they may already have sealed indictments. The judge wanted due process isn't taking them to an escape route through your chambers. You know, this idea that judges can that have the right to make up laws and commit crimes, that's just not how it works. And I can't wait for the next arrest. This is most definitely the beginning of it. Now there was a third arrest. Listen to this. Let me pull up this story. An agricultural department employee that works for Katie Hobbs in Arizona was arrested for human smuggling of illegals. So this, I know, isn't this great? It's let me pull this up. He was a produce inspector for Katie Hobbs in Arizona. He's facing both felony and misdemeanor federal charges after Border Patrol agents caught him transporting illegal aliens across the U.S. border earlier this month. According to the federal complaint filed by the U.S. District of Arizona, he was first spotted on April 9th speeding away from a known smuggling route. Border agents later caught up to him after witnessing the same vehicle ferrying 2 illegal aliens, Mexican nationals who admitted to paying between $7,600 and $12,000 each to be smuggled into the United States. This is KOLD TV out in Arizona's report. On April 9th, William, thank you for that super sticker. KOLD reporting on April 9th, Border Patrol agents spotted a black Chevrolet Impala quickly leaving a known smuggling route and getting onto Interstate 19, driving a certain way to see if law enforcement was around. The next evening, agents saw the same sedan in the area before losing sight of it. Agents saw only one person inside. The following day, border agents saw the same sedan returning the way it came, but now with 2 passengers in the back seat. Agents followed the car onto the interstate, pulled it over, and asked the driver, identified as this Katie Hobbs employee, about the passengers. According to court documents, he said the 2 men had asked for a ride and he didn't know them. But agents soon determined the men were Mexican citizens who were in the U.S. illegally. One of the illegals told agents he paid 150,000 Mexican pesos, which is approximately 7,600 U.S. dollars, to be smuggled into the country. He said he illegal. By the way, all these stories are on my X, Brian Craig Show on X. He said the illegal crossed the border and hid until he was told to walk to an area near a red house and look for a black car that would pick him up. This is the Katie Hobbs worker. The other man told agents he was going to pay $12,000 to be smuggled into the United States and provided a similar account. The Katie Hobbs employee was immediately fired, but now they're in trouble. Now there's going to be a massive investigation in Arizona over this. This is amazing. And this guy sounds pretty scared. So he's highly likely to spill the beans on an Arizona operation, right? Oh, this is such a great time. We've got 3 officials arrested, 2 judges, and this Katie Hobbs worker, in like 48 hours. Why would you hate everything about me, Curtis? Are you an American? Alex just subbed to the channel. Welcome. Thanks for subscribing. This is where MAGA comes to talk. But my favorite one is this Wisconsin judge. It's getting arrested in the robe. You know, when George Soros started backing local officials, judges, prosecutors, public defenders, county sheriffs, and others, it was for this very purpose, right? To have people in positions of authority inside local governments to do crime. And this allowing illegals into the country to stay here and letting them out early after they rape and murder people, all these things, they're anarchists. They're infiltrator, revolutionary anarchists, and they're true believers, and they're very arrogant because they've had years of just free reign to get away with this. And, you know, people like Wu, the mayor of Boston, who's like this, they may be too arrogant and full of themselves to be worried, but I wouldn't be surprised if we woke up one day and found out Wu, the mayor of Boston, had fled the country and is in Beijing or something, right? Or Hong Kong. There was a story last week of all the CCP money she had been taking, the Chinese Communist Party. So she'd been taking all this money from the Chinese Communist Party. Is she a spy? What is she? Yeah, you know, you cannot have a sanctuary city. You can't say, you know, illegals are federal criminals. You know, so the example I often give, you take it outside of the immigration issue. You can't be a judge or a mayor and say this city is a sanctuary, bank robbery is a federal crime. You can't say this city is a sanctuary robbery city for bank robbers. That if you've committed the federal crime of bank robbing, you can come to Boston or wherever else and live here freely and safely. This is a sanctuary city for the federal crime of bank robbing. You can't do that. That's insane. But they're doing just that. Instead of bank robbery, they're saying that if you're a federal fugitive and in this country illegally, you can set up a life here and we'll protect you. You can't do that. That's a crime. And a public official who does that is committing a federal crime. And these judges getting arrested is just beautiful. This is CNN. This was their reaction right after the arrest of the judge in Wisconsin.
This is her courtroom, Boris, and she's in control of her courtroom.
Okay, Andre, thank you for that super chat. That's the dumbest analogy you've ever heard. No, it's spot on. You know, this idiot on CNN, it's her courtroom. She's in charge of it. Judges don't have the right in their courtroom to say, okay, this is my independent state, and I'm going to make the laws here. It's part of the United States, and the judges have to obey the law too. It's amazing to me how they're processing this on the left.
This is her courtroom, Boris, and she's in control of her courtroom. We've never had a case like this. The only one that resembles it is one in which the judge took actual steps to deceive and prevent ICE from coming in. She handled it and said, look, if you want to make an arrest, don't do it in my courtroom. Don't exploit it. You can do it on the street. There's no principle that says she has to somehow aid them.
Okay, now none of what he said is true, but one of the things that he said there is that she said, "Oh, just take it outside." No, she yelled at the agents, screamed at the agents, and then she was involved in a deception. This is CNN.
In their facilitation of the arrest of this man, I think. I agree. It's a real escalation, but I think
yes, it is
hyperbolic at best to say she was harboring a fugitive.
Yes, she was. She took him in. She took him and his lawyer into her chambers, according to Attorney General Pam Bondi, and then let him out a special judge's entrance. You know, judges have special entrances for their safety, right? Because they're dealing with criminals in their courtroom. She harbored him briefly. Remember, OJ went to prison for 8 years because he held someone in a hotel room for a few minutes. She harbored him in her chambers, eluding federal authorities, and then gave him an escape route.
He was saying, not in my courtroom, and I think this is not just an aggressive, but probably an over-aggressive move by the Bureau. My best guess is that this case is going to collapse because you need to have corrupt intent. It's not just enough to not want him to be arrested. You need to have corrupt intent under federal law.
Well, I think the taking him to the escape route and showing him the escape route is corrupt intent. Don't you guys agree?
And it's one thing if you do positive steps to deceive, but simply to say, while you're in my courtroom, you can exit here, enter here, and he's still arrested. I don't think they're going to be able to show it. And in any event, it is an extremely aggressive move against a sitting state judge.
I think this guy's auditioning to be the judge's lawyer. Now, the other judge, this weirdo freak and his wife that were arrested in New Mexico. I mean, did you see that picture of him with like in his underwear? Very bizarre. This is our great Attorney General Pam Bondi talking about the arrest of the judge in New Mexico.
I mean, when you look at the associations with this violent Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, and this person that they harbored in their home, he was showing signs through clothing, we were told, tattoos. There was evidence through voice messages and text messages of his association to TDA. So what charges will Cano and his wife face, if any?
So Judge Cano, soon to be former Judge Cano,
that's right.
He got his charges were just unsealed. He's charged with obstruction. He is charged. He admitted post Miranda. He took one of the TDA members' cell phones himself, took it, beat it with a hammer, destroyed it, and then walked the pieces to a.
Oh, sounds like Hillary, right out of Hillary Clinton's book with the hammers to the cell phones. Did he use Beach Blit too, or Beach Bit? It's hard to say that, isn't it? Beach Bit.
The dumpster to dispose of it to protect him. The wife also is charged with destroying evidence. Sandra, not only that, this TDA member, and he had on a necklace that said kill, something about death. He had tattoos all over him. He also had on his cell phone pictures of 2 decapitated victims, 2 victims, decapitated, gruesome photos, and he was sending them out, and whoever he was sending them to was sending back, saying, hey, you need to be careful, you shouldn't be sending these, you shouldn't be texting these photos out. Not only that, these 2, the judge and his wife, gave him assault rifles that belonged to their daughter. That's what they're charged with. In the criminal report affidavit, he goes to a shooting range with these assault rifles, with a suppressor, with other known TDA members, and they're shooting. This is the last person that we want in our country, nor will we ever tolerate a judge or anyone else harboring them.
Oh, wow. Pam Bondi's badass, isn't she? Okay, so, you know, somebody in the chat had said, are you concerned about Trump disobeying the Supreme Court? The President of the United States does not answer to the Supreme Court of the United States or federal judges, okay? They're not his boss, they're not his supervisor, and he doesn't answer to them. The Supreme Court and the other federal judges are outside of their realm of authority, okay? Now, everything President Trump is doing is fine and legal, all right? But when there is you know, all these liberals, oh, the Constitution this, the Constitution that, the Constitution has in place a process for a president who breaks the law. It's called the impeachment process. If a president is breaking the law, they can be impeached in the House, and then there's a trial in the Senate. It's not up to federal courts to tell a judge what to do. The Supreme Court is telling Trump that he has to get involved in a negotiation with another country, El Salvador's government, to bring somebody back. They don't have that authority. They're outside of their authority. So far as the other federal judges, not the Supreme Court, the other judges, what their real title, by the way, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe, okay? The lower federal judges, not the Supreme Court, but the other federal judges, their real title is federal district judges. They all have a district, and their jurisdiction is inside their district. And these federal judges are making rulings for the whole country. That's outside their authority. They're also making rulings over the President of the United States, which they don't have the authority to do. So no, President Trump should disobey the Supreme Court and all of these lower judges because, well, he's not really disobeying them. They have no authority over him. It might as well be a judge in France making a ruling that Trump should do something. If he's breaking the law, you impeach him and try him in the Senate. That's how it works. Not like this, all right? Not like this. Now, I know that liberals, they hate Trump, so they think that a bunch of weirdos in robes, like that freak in New Mexico and this lawless judge in Wisconsin, are a bunch of, they're a committee that makes up some alternate presidency, but that's just not how it works. I know you would like to think it works that way, but it doesn't work that way. Oh yeah, Trump is, he's a total badass. And that's why all these world leaders were kissing his butt at the Pope's funeral today, because tariffs work. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to take off. Subscribe if you're new. Check out my latest podcast episode, which is the video before this. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, okay? You'll love this channel. It is where MAGA comes to talk. My name's Brian. Thanks.